What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Canes Insight. It is Saturday morning. Feeling great, man. This is an awesome Saturday. A huge win for Canes baseball yesterday. Georgia Tech, white hot, particularly on offense, got shut down by Griffin Hughes, Miami's ace, one of the best pitchers in the ACC. Got a little wild. Pitch count got a little high, but man, the swing and miss, the toughness, the competitiveness. Griffin Hughes stepped up and carried Miami to a huge win. Also, Mikey Torres, elite defensive center fielder, made some incredible plays. Daniel Cuvée did his thing, going yard, and just an overall awesome game. Brian Walters in the bullpen, game-changing addition to that unit, moving from the starting lineup. Of course, football, I know is on everybody's mind. David Stone, going to get into that one. That one is an incredible opportunity for somebody. Perhaps the Canes. We'll talk about that. First, I want to talk about some folks who are always incredible at every opportunity they have to serve their clients as Anajar and Levine accident attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. So rolling solo, Pete's doing some renovations. I'm trying to get a hang of this producing thing. See if I can do both. So bear with me, but we're going to have some fun here. I love these breakfast shows. Saturday morning, Canes, the chat's always going crazy. I know Canes Cat's fired up with the way Canes baseball is playing. Gio's asking, what's for breakfast, chat? You already know, Islas Canarias. We'll talk about that a little later. That's always for breakfast. I got the protein smoothie, though, right now. Just got out the gym. But feeling great, man. Feeling great about the Canes. Feeling great about what's happening in recruiting and the portal potentially. We'll talk about that with football. Miami Heat stepping up. You know, I'm a big believer that the lottery is for losers. So cheer for ping pong balls. That could never be me. Excited to see the Heat do what they did. Toughness, Davion Mitchell, defense, Ballin, Khalil Ware, really kind of elevating. He's going to get some great reps here in this playoff run, and it might be a run. I don't think it's going to be something too fast. So we'll see that. And shout out to the Miami Beach Bulldogs. Had a scrimmage yesterday getting ready for the playoffs. They had a little break before the playoffs. So the 10U Miami Beach Bulldogs played a scrimmage yesterday, 12-2, one big. Young Eli, E-Money, my son, center field, doing well at the plate, having fun. So my wife was real mad because I didn't go with the family to the Keys for Easter until later today because I said, we got to stay for the scrimmage. She's like, you're staying for a scrimmage? What's wrong with you? Now you know. Big-time performance for the Miami Beach Bulldogs. Tighten up the screws before the playoffs. So shout out to the boys. But yeah, man. So I know most people are tuning in, want to know about David Stone. So David Stone, for those who don't know, he is an elite talent out of Oklahoma. He's from Oklahoma. He's really was along with. I'm trying to think of just in terms of who was the top target. I mean, I might say in 2024, he was the top target. It felt like it was just every time Jeremiah Smith, of course, shouldn't leave that one out. With Jeremiah Smith on offense and then David Stone on defense, those were probably the two top targets that at least from a lot of the season. And they both were on the border, right? So just some background, the Jeremiah Smith story has been told, but he thought he was going to Miami. Everybody thought he was going to Miami. He ended up going to Ohio State. David Stone, the family thought he was going to Miami. Everybody thought he was going to commit to the University of Miami when he played in the All-Star game. He went up to the altar, and then he said Oklahoma. Everybody was shocked, including his own family. If you watch the video, it was kind of a strange moment there when he picked Oklahoma. Goes there, doesn't play a ton as a freshman. You look at the stats, so really not much to what he did as a true freshman. 6'3", 313, again, 5-star, probably the best defensive tackle in the country in 2024, but just didn't, defensive tackles, it's kind of a position where it's not instant impact, right? I think running back, linebacker, you kind of know when you know. Defensive tackles takes a little bit. So he didn't play as much this year. During the spring, he was getting a lot of buzz as just a blooming player, someone really about to hit his ceiling, and then he jumps in the portal. Oklahoma's reporting that basically they asked him to take a pay cut because he was paid so much last year and didn't play, and he didn't like that and jumped in the portal. And Oklahoma, 247 is reporting Miami's the favorite. Talking to my Miami sources or hitting up my Miami sources, they're being very coy, which means that I can't tell you for certain that this is going to happen. I was not told that, so I cannot tell you from that standpoint. But, I'll take their silence as I think we're in this thing. And I know the intensity to which David Stone was recruited the first time. I know the relationship with the family, how strong it was. And again, Miami thought that they were going to get this player. It was like they didn't even think about the possibility that he could pick Oklahoma on the stand. But unfortunately, that's just the way it turned out. But as we watch here, some senior highlights from this guy. Went to IMG. So, of course, relationship with Francis Malinoa. Some of those IMG guys have since gone, but Malik Bryant still there. Another guy that played at IMG. I think a couple others are still here, but certainly Malinoa, there's a relationship, and you see what this guy was able to do at that level, playing with some of the best players in the country. He is extremely quick. He looked just like this at the All-Star game as well. Dominated that game right after committing to Oklahoma. Very, very athletic, lean player. Not someone who needs to lose a lot of weight or has a bad body. Very smart, high IQ guy. I believe he's very good academically as well. He's just like a smart kid. But you see the lateral quickness is unique. And I'm a big believer. This is one of my kind of core beliefs when it comes to this, having watched recruiting and team development in college football for, 25 years. Defensive tackle is a 5-star position. There's a lot, so you'll get an Aaron Donald occasionally. You'll get some good finds, like Ahmad Moden or Dante Simpson that can help you. But at the end of the day, this is a 5-star position, and you just got to win the battles. There's not too many guys with this body type and this athleticism walking around. So they're easy to identify. Everybody knows who they are. They're hard to acquire. Miami did everything possible to acquire Stone, from NIL on the table to just great relationships to relentless recruiting. And he still went to Oklahoma, where he's from, without anybody knowing. So these guys are very hard to get. When you have opportunities to get them, you get them any chance you get. So I believe that Miami is going to make a significant run at David Stone. It makes too much sense. And again, I didn't get look at the athleticism here. I didn't get the, yes, it's happening. I didn't get the no. And to me, that means that we are right in this thing. And they had been looking to, speaking of Miami now, for a fourth defensive tackle, a rotational defensive tackle. And there's different ways you can go about that. You can get, a freshman, or you can get a veteran that's not as good, kind of just like a lifelong rotational guy, probably getting paid a little bit, because these are expensive players at this position, no matter how good you are. You could really overpay for somebody who's like maybe a starting caliber guy, but not like a star. Or you can get a guy like David Stone, who, if he develops, he could be first, second round player. And to me, no brainer, the way I would go, and that would be to get a high upside 5-star player who has a chance, along with Justin Scott and some of these other guys, to develop into an elite player. That's, to me, where I go, because again, this is a 5-star position. Yes, he'd be a transfer at that point, but like you're talking about a guy like Walter Nolan, transferred from Texas A&M to Ole Miss, really came on there. He's going to be a first-round pick in the draft. You see it happen occasionally, but really at the end of the day, these 5 stars are 5 stars. Even a guy like Leonard Taylor, who really underachieved at Miami in tremendous fashion, he still played as a rookie in the NFL, right? These 5-star talents are 5-star talents for a reason at this position, and you get them in the boat any way you can. So, very excited about the possibility about adding this player. I just think it's just a natural fit. I think Miami's going to be on it extremely, extremely aggressively. That's my prediction. That's my educated, I can't say for sure, that's my educated opinion. Look at him get off the block there. This is what I expect to happen with the Miami Hurricanes and David Stone. And look, if you were able to land David Stone, what are you looking at? You got Justin Scott, who's another top 10 player in that class. So basically, you get the 2 top defensive tackles that year with Stone and with Scott. That's pretty good. Both true sophomores or second-year players. You got Armando Blunt and Hayden Lowe at defensive end. These are 260-plus defensive ends. So kind of those Georgia-style, big, athletic defensive ends that are not undersized. In fact, are kind of big for the position. Those are both 5-star explosive players. Marquise Lightfoot, your pure rusher, your just kind of stand-up designated pass rusher. He's going to be out there causing terror, and he's had a really good spring. And again, another 5-star player. So you're about, if you get David Stone in the mix, you were talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 5-star players on the defensive line, and that is how you win in college football. You're sprinkling some veterans, obviously Ruben Bain, he's a pretty good veteran. Akeem Messidor, David Blay, who's a number 2 defensive tackle in the portal. You're talking about, Malik Bryant, who's been a solid player. Ahmad Moden, who showed some real nice flashes. So you have veterans there, and then you have the five-star players if you are able to land David Stone. I like how that looks. Don't forget about Dante Simpson as well, who is a very young and talented defensive tackle, not a highly rated player, 3-star player, but seeing him in the spring, he's very much a 4 or 5-star type talent. I don't think he'd look out of place next to these kind of athletes. But man, you look at Stone in these highlights, the lateral quickness and the use of hands is just outstanding. So it's exciting. Stephen Aveo, appreciate your support. But appreciate your support earlier, Bobby T. He's saying weird. He got passed by Jaden Jackson. With Jaden Jackson, this is his teammate from IMG, who's a lower rated player, ended up playing earlier as a freshman. Look, that happens sometimes. These guys all grow at different paces. I've been told about defensive tackle, it's a position where you need mustache, right? Because just physical, you got to grow and get stronger. Jaden Jackson, I think, might have had more strength, more present strength coming out of high school. Just like a stronger guy, wider, half poly, just one of these guys is just like a phone booth mauler. So he was probably more ready to play. Stone's more of your athletic, quick guy. So he needs a little bit more weight and grown man strength to get to his quickness and not get overpowered. So I think that's maybe why you saw him play earlier. I can tell you, Oklahoma is not happy to lose David Stone. You could see it in their comments. You could see everything they're saying. They are depressed about losing this dude. And the coaches felt, according to everything you see out of Oklahoma, that he was making a huge step up in spring, which is expected. So I expect Miami to be right in the mix for David Stone. You got Juan Manuel saying, yeah, Venables said that he was one of the most impressive linemen this spring. He was making his move, man. So, shout out to Vaughn, Mr. Duval. Juan Manuel asked about the Syracuse defensive tackle that's hitting the portal. I think Miami will have interest there. But to me, Stone is a name that just makes the most sense. Got multiple years of eligibility. The relationship there is long-standing. I mean, again, everybody in the world thought he was going to pick Miami that day. I had the story ready. It was ready. Everybody had the story ready. That was the expected pick. His family thought he was going to pick. So, we'll see how that goes. Lexi saying, did Dante Simpson already pass Artavis Scott? How does Micah Newton look? So Artavis Jones, you're talking about, the defensive tackle from the Panhandle. They're battling. They're both really athletic young players. They'll have their flashes and they'll have their moments where they're not as good, but they're both super talented. I like both those guys. Micah Newton just gaining weight right now. He's a little banged up. So that's, just working through some injuries and gaining weight. I think he'll be a longer-term guy, but he's a very twitchy, explosive player. As he gains weight, I think he's going to be really, really good. Ethio Kane, good morning. Happy Easter weekend to you, my friend. Going to head down to the Keys, enjoy those festivities. Happy Easter to everybody who celebrates Easter weekend. It's going to be nice to get with the family and everything. This is my favorite time, one of my favorite times of the year, even though there's no football. It's just, man, awesome weather down here. Basketball's picking up. This is when the Heat usually make their run and shut a lot of people up. And Canes baseball, man, let's see if they can squeeze into the tournament. Right now, 7-9 in the ACC. I think 500 in the ACC is what you're looking at as far as the barometer to potentially make a regional. We'll see. I mean, there's room there. But if Miami's able to win this series, meaning win one of the next two against Georgia Tech, keep taking care of business in the midweeks, I think you're looking at a team that's probably on the closer end of the bubble to making a regional. You lost Derek Williams. He did play yesterday, but he's probably not going to be batting, so you're going to miss one of your big bats in the lineup. But, man, Mikey Torres, defensively, is one of the most fun players to watch in the ACC for me because I just love center field defense and seeing that guy do what he does. He is plus an MLB-type defense. The bat's not there. That's going to be the question with him, the big question with him. But defensively, and you're talking about upper-level major league defensive talent. So, shout out to Mikey Torres and everything he was able to get done. All right, so David Stone. So what else we got going on, fellas? Like I mentioned baseball. We talked about Shelton Henderson as far as the basketball team. I think that's going to get done. The more I talked to more people yesterday, I think Shelton Henderson, the 6'6", physically built 220. I would say defensive minded, but offensively skilled wing out of Houston, Texas. I think that's going to get done for the Miami Hurricanes. So keep an eye on that one. We'll see what happens, but you get him and David Stone. That's a lot of 5-star talent coming in the building. Plus you got Jackson Cantwell coming up at the end of the month. He's going to visit Oregon. You never know, but I still like Miami there as the favorite going into that visit. So that's potentially adding 3 5-stars in orange and green here in the next 2 weeks. They got to get it done, but that's on the table to get 3 5-stars in the building and 3 big 5-stars, meaning physically big, get some size on the basketball court, and of course, in the trenches. Speaking of that, 5-star trenches, CF 3234. What's the deal with Samson Okolala? Seems like he's never talked about it, and he's getting a massive bag. He's working, he's improving. That offensive line's pretty well positioned as far as Markel Bell's looking really, really good at tackle. You heard Josh Pate talk about him. I think he's probably like a first, second round type talent if it comes together and he keeps playing like he's playing in practice. He's never going to be the quickest guy because of his size, but he's quick for his size, flexible for his size. And I think the key with him is mentally he's very good, both from an intelligence standpoint, from a work ethic standpoint. He's tough as well. He likes to play. He likes to run block. So add that all up with the size, and I think the great coaching he gets from Mirabal, which he's responsive to. I think he's arrow up guy, first, second round type pick. Mauanoa, you know what he's about, first round pick. So those are your tackles. Then interior wise, I thought he might have a chance to just be one of these kind of like guards that wrestles you around, uses his wrestling background to torque guys. Maybe not the most powerful and big guy, but someone who can just maneuver in there. But he is not stuck at guard. They've used him mostly at tackle. So the guards you're talking about, McCoy when he gets back, who can also play tackle. Ines Cooper had an incredible spring. Ryan Rodriguez is your Swiss Army knife. So that's pretty crowded there. And then Brockmeyer at center. The battle with Okunlola to me is Okunlola and Tommy Kinsler. So Tommy Kinsler, huge. He's actually bigger than Okunlola and more athletic, which is interesting. Okunlola was the 5-star. Everybody wanted him. Obviously, Miami had a huge grade on him. And then Tommy Kinsler, Miami also had a huge grade on him. The industry was lower as a 3-star. But that guy, once you see him, he's bigger than Mauanoa and Okunlola. He's more athletic than both those guys. He doesn't have a ton of fat, and he's got a lot of talent. Just a great mover, great athlete. He was a little slow to develop just because I think he came in from a more raw place. But this spring and before the spring, the offseason before the spring, he's really taken a step up. So I think the question is, Rodriguez is going to be that Swiss Army knife. After Rodriguez, is it going to be Samson or is it going to be Kinsler? Right now, I'd be kind of more focused on Kinsler. I think Kinsler's got more momentum right now. I thought he looked better in spring, just more athletic, and he's got better size, inside and outside. Can play tackle, probably would start at guard or start off at guard, depending on injuries. I would say because if one of the tackles gets hurt, that to me feels like maybe a Matt McCoy slides out. Or as Cooper slides out, then Kinsler slides in a guard, but I'm not sure. You really don't know how that's going to play out. Brandon, what's up? Good morning. Have you heard anything on Beck throwing? How's it coming along so far? I have not, but again, I've not, aside from the obvious, like we got to see it, I've not heard anything like, oh man, we're worried about Beck. We're worried about how it's going. Like I've heard nothing kind of negative on Beck in that way. Again, he has to come back. So there's always that kind of, hey, we got to see it. But I haven't heard anything like, it's not like Citizen where you have setbacks and stuff or things you're worried about. I think that's right there where it's going. Well, Manuel, we should keep Bell here in 26. He can up his game and draft stock. What's the rush to the NFL with Bell? I mean, we're trying to rush him out the door. His eligibility is a little up in the air because he's a JUCO guy. Diego Pavia was able to get an injunction and play. You don't know if that necessarily applies to Bell. That's somewhat of a legal question. I would say probably yes, just because the NCAA loses everything, but you don't know that for sure. So you might not just be able to keep him. And then also, he's a 4th-year player, even though he's a 2nd-year FBS player because of the JUCO. So he's older. So I think if he has a good year and he's able to get drafted first, second round, I think he'd probably go. But look, we don't know. That's a projection. It's not like he was a first and second rounder on tape last year. You saw flashes of that, but you didn't see that all the way through. He was still learning. So we'll see where he goes. I think if he goes, Miami's going to need probably transfer help on the offensive line in 26. I don't think they recruited as well as they would have hoped given the high standards, but they're able to get good guys in the portal because of their pedigree. So I could see them getting a premium portal guy somewhere. McCoy, if he comes back, he could play tackle. Tommy Kinsler can play tackle. Obviously, if you get Jackson Cantwell, number one player in the country, he's going to have a chance to start right away, like Malinois did, probably at right tackle. So we'll see, man. We'll see how it develops. There you go. Hassan from Toledo. Shout out to the Glass City. JR, appreciate you. Yes, like and subscribe to the show, man. We're on every day plus weekends, as you can see, and instant reactions. We're covering every sport, football, baseball, basketball, with exclusive news on everything. And listen, you've been around long enough, or if you haven't, ask somebody. When we say something, usually it's for a reason, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, and usually it happens. So with Stone, again, if I had the text saying this is happening, I would either say it or be coy about it. I don't know that for a fact. I think there's kind of maybe some silence as they get it done here. But me knowing what I know about the situation, what Miami wants and needs, Miami's opinion of Stone, where that recruiting process was, where the relationships were, I would think it's probably going to happen. My prediction, but we'll see. I don't know that for a fact. And then again, I think Shelton Henderson's going to happen on the basketball side, 5-star player. And Jackson Cantwell, if you ask me here on April 19th, hasn't made his last Oregon visit yet. But if you ask me right now, I think Miami would lead for Jackson Cantwell. So if things go right and we can finish the deal and close, you could potentially have 3 5-star talents entering the HECT here in the next 2 weeks. So that's the goal. That's the goal. A lot of questions on Lane Kiffin. I mean, listen, man, that's what he does. To me, Lane Kiffin, I remember the Lil Wayne song. It was like on a mixtape. I believe it was on the No Ceilings mixtape. He said something like smoke weed, talk, smack like Lane Kiffin, because Lane Kiffin, that's what he does. He likes to talk. Unfortunately, he did not make it to the playoffs. Has really never won anything of substance, I don't believe. If Lane Kiffin's won anything, any conference or anything, important, let me know in the comments. I don't believe he has. Obviously Miami's extremely disappointed with what the talent they kind of squandered this year, not winning the conference or making the playoff. But I mean, Ole Miss is probably in the same boat, if not more. They actually probably squandered more talent because they were really loaded this year, choked away a lot of games. So, I don't know what to say. Look, Lane Kiffin saying, talking about Beck having a bad game against Ole Miss. I believe he destroyed Ole Miss the year before. And, I don't know what else to say. He won the SEC. Carson Beck, he was in the SEC championship game. Ole Miss was nowhere to be found, despite having an NFL quarterback and a ton of NFL players on defense. So from talking about Lane Kiffin, that's what he does. He talks. He quite frankly talks more than he actually, wins the big games. Because unless I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. I don't believe he's won anything. Someone's saying J.R. Godfather, didn't he win FAU's conference? Maybe he might have. Yeah, he could have won FAU. Now in the big leagues, he's been there for a while between USC, Tennessee, now at Ole Miss. I don't believe he has won the conference once. I could be wrong, but I don't believe he has done anything like that, even though he's had a lot of talent. So, that's what he does, man. Lane Kiffin's there to talk. He's a great podcast guest, great offensive mind. I don't think he's going to last long because he burns out and gets in trouble and does stupid stuff. So we'll see how it all turns out. But, good luck to him. Good luck to them in the SEC. Let's see if he can replace all the NFL talent that they lost in a season that did not end the way they wanted it to end. So what else we got? So we got to Lane. We got to David Stone. Again, I mentioned Cantwell. I think that Oklahoma visit or that Oregon visit, we'll see how it goes. I still believe Miami is in the driver's seat there. So that's a one to watch. Just going through the recruiting based on what I know. Quarterback, who's there. Running back, Mallory's in the boat. So you got Coleman at quarterback in the boat, Mallory at running back in the boat. Derek Cooper, I'm told, is insanely high priority, and it's going to be an aggressive recruitment till the end. Knowing what's kind of invested in that, I think they're going to go after him pretty hard. That's an understatement. I think they're going to go after him till the last breath they have, and I think they'll get him when they're that focused on somebody. They typically get him. So I think they'll get Derek Cooper, but we'll see. That's going to be a battle. I thought they get DJ Pickett last year. That didn't happen. So maybe I could be wrong, but just knowing the intense focus on Cooper and the fact that if you're running, you go to Georgia. Georgia had one of the worst running backs, one of the worst running games in the country last year, despite having an NFL running back. So that doesn't appeal to me. If I'm Derek Cooper, Ohio State, that's a good running back school. Yeah, you can go there and have success for sure. Freeze. But if you're in Miami, you're talking about one of the best offensive lines in the country going against ACC defenses, and you run a 10-7. A lot of those 10-yard runs we had last year turned into 70-yard runs. So to me, that makes a lot of sense. For Derek Cooper, I think that gets done. That's just my thoughts. Tight end, Hezi Kent, the big boy from Georgia, 290, 300-pound tight end. I think Miami's in a good shape there. They view him as a tight end, have a unique plan for him. Talk about at kind of the quicker tight end, Zachary Turner from Duncanville in Texas. He was like 6'3", 220 on his visit. Super athletic, super productive. He played with Keelan Russell last year at Alabama, put up huge numbers. I like him to potentially be a tight end in the class with Hezi Kent. So you get the big guy and the quick guy, kind of like Luka Gilbert and Brock Schott last year. Then offensive line, Cantwell. I think Miami's the favorite there, but it'll be a battle, right? It's like with Stone, with Jeremiah. You don't know until the end. He still has to visit Oregon, but I think Miami is the favorite as of today. Kenye Pepe, Miami will pursue him very hard. Obviously, you get Cantwell. That takes up a lot of the resources for Pepe, but I think Miami would do anything they can to get that done if they could. You know, Brett Collier inside. Cannon Pickett, I heard, is trending more towards Miami after being crystal ball to Clemson. That's not a done deal. We'll see how that goes, but I think that's better than it was certainly 3 weeks ago. You got J.J. Sparks at center. You got Ben Cogden already, a really talented offensive tackle. I think he just got an Alabama offer. I think he's ready to blow up. So Miami's recruiting, man. Oh, and then, of course, Joel Irvin, who they view as a 5-star talent already committed from Fort Myers. So offensive line, I think, is going to be great. If you get Joel Irvin and Jackson Cantwell at tackle, those are some big boys. And Ben Cogden, holy moly. Wide receiver, I get a lot of questions there. I think Braden Robinson at slot is going to be someone to keep an eye on. Miami really wants to add him to the equation. He's a dynamic returner, dynamic, highly productive slot from Texas. 10-4 speed adds an element we don't have right now. They still want Jason Lopez. FSU's coming after him hard on basketball, so that's what we have to battle. I mean, I think he has a chance to play both here, but we'll see how that goes. I think he's a great player. He's as good as it gets in South Florida. Calvin Russell, of course, he's a high priority from Northwestern. I think I've said it before, with Malachi Tony's success, I think that's trending more in our direction, but that's certainly not a done deal. But yeah, I mean, he was looking at Syracuse. Syracuse's best receiver is leaving Syracuse because, number one, they don't pay wide receivers. Number two, their quarterback stinks. So if you're the top receiver in South Florida, you're going to the coldest part of the map to a team that's had very little success, that their top receiver just left because the quarterback stinks and they don't pay receivers. That to me doesn't seem like something that makes a lot of sense. We'll see where Calvin Russell ends up, but I think Miami's working in the right direction there. Chase Matthews was on campus. I don't know about that one. Tritza Keys, I mentioned in the bank, he signed with Adidas, so that's going to give him much more of a chance to potentially come to Miami, which is an Adidas school. He's coming to LSU, made another unofficial visit. I think Adidas is probably pushing him to Miami, but we'll see. It's still very early in that process. So those are some of the things on offense. And before we even get to offense, we talk about, this is Breakfast with Canes Insight. You got the number one breakfast spot in Miami, the number one Cuban restaurant in Miami. That's Islas Canarias Cuban Express, right there in Dadeland Dining Pavilion. 1977. That's when the first Star Wars came out. That's how long this place has been providing the best Cuban food on the planet. Look at all the press. I mean, best Cuban restaurants, best croquetas. Oop, you already know what time it is there. And for breakfast, it doesn't get any better than Islas. Let's check the menu. Let's check the menu. See what we want for breakfast here. The OG ham croqueta. You can't go wrong. Put some crackers on that. Eat it like a sandwich. Nothing better. If you want to, those tostones preparados, this is basically a fried plantain. Put some beef on it. Put some chicken on it. Put some pig on it. Picadillo, which is going to be, I don't know, what would you call that in English? I don't know. Meat. Meat on a fried plantain. Doesn't get much better than that. Look at these pastries you can get. Guava and cheese. That's a classic right there. And then you get some Venezuelan items in the Cuban restaurant with some tequeños. So breakfast, you know what to do. Islas Canarias Cuban Express. Miami Dad wants to know, what lies are we telling this morning? Jeremiah Smith coming or what? We're talking about Jeremiah Smith transferring to Miami when he's getting ready for his Hall of Fame induction. Mohammed Hussein saying, Ropa Vieja for breakfast. He already knows. Start right. Hearty breakfast there with Islas Canarias Express. We got 1,300 on, man, on Saturday morning. Appreciate everybody joining us. Like and subscribe to this show. It's a little different than the studio show we do every day. This is just having breakfast, drinking my coffee, talking to you guys. Really enjoy the community, enjoy everybody supporting this show. So if you're not part of this, like and subscribe. We are on every single day, audio, video, plus we're on CanesInsight.com. Talking about 7 million posts and counting on CanesInsight.com. Just got 6 members today. We're looking at how many new members we have. 18,594. Shout out to Otis Kane, newest member. We got new members signing up every day for the #1 Canes community on the planet. I don't believe there's even a close number 2. It is the spot, and it is all free. CanesInsight.com. 7 million posts and counting. All right, so I appreciate that, Hassan. Smash that like button. On the defensive side of the ball, I think defensive tackle, Lamar Brown. I think someone from Texas put a crystal ball in for Miami to get Lamar Brown, the 5-star from Baton Rouge. Some people view him as an interior lineman on offense. Miami views him as a defensive player. I heard they have a strong chance there that he's the message he's given to people is he's down to leave the state. He's from Baton Rouge. Obviously, that's usually going to be an LSU, but he's telling people he's down to leave, and that's the vibe people are getting from him. Miami's going to recruit him very hard. They view him as a premium option on the interior of the defensive line. Defensive end Ashari Charles from Venice, very explosive pass rusher. You've had a few good players. Bryson Perry Wright. I hope I'm saying that right. From Georgia, high 4-star player, visited. Miami's got a great shot there. Miami's, casting a wide net at defensive tackle. I think they want to figure out that position a little bit, and they're targeting a lot of guys, but Lamar Brown is one of them to keep an eye on. Linebacker, that would be your Jordan Campbell is committed. There's some guys that are emerging on the board. We just made a post here. Let me pull it up here before I lose it on CanesInsight.com. 7 million posts and counting, talking about linebacker visiting this weekend, which is Braxton Lindsey. So let me pull this one up here because I want to watch this film. I'll watch it with you guys. I have not seen this film yet, but this is a guy who I'm told is a very interesting target. There we go. There's Canes Insight. This is where the action is. You got an athletic 2-way player, also plays basketball, 6'2", 225 from Arkansas, home of the striped bass in Arkansas. Braxton Lindsey, like I said, plays basketball, plays offense, plays defense that you typically see in the NFL draft. At the NFL draft coming up in a week, when you watch those guys in the first round, especially the 3-star, low 4-star types that end up popping, a lot of times these are multi-sport kids. But when they focus on one position in college, they blow up. I think Braxton Lindsey can be one of those type of players. Here we see him on the defensive side of the ball up in Arkansas. Nice move inside. Look at the speed laterally. He's got that. They got him rushing off the edge. It's a little dangerous sometimes with these edge guys because can they translate to linebacker? You never know. But certainly the athleticism. I mean, look at the ferocity there, stripping the ball after running him down. So you see the athletic ability to be a stand-up guy, but he can rush. You think of a Jalen Walker. Jalen Walker was somebody who, for Georgia, rushed, played off the ball. Jihad Campbell from Alabama actually did the same thing at the college level. So if you have athletic ability and instincts, you can do it. You see striking with this guy. Not the biggest dude in the world as far as he's not totally bulked up, but you can see the frame to gain significant weight, and the athleticism and quickness is all there. So yeah, I'm a fan of this kind of guy, linebacker. You need versatility in this modern era. Guys that can rush, guys that can drop and cover, guys that can strike and have instincts in the run game. That's what you see with the Jalen Walker. That's what you see with the Jihad Campbell. The linebackers that you're going to see here as we get ready for the NFL draft are going to have the different shapes and sizes, but for the most part are going to be plus athletes who have the ability to either rush and play off ball or cover, play off ball, or all three. And those are the first rounders. You hope this guy can be another Jalen Walker or, potentially another, I don't know, Jihad Campbell. That'd be the goal. So let's look at the offensive highlights here while we're pulling them up.
I'm a scientist.
The versatility we're talking about. There you see Canes inside just as I scroll here so you guys can see what it's like. A lot of comments. Everybody's going to give their 2 cents. There's a lot of debate going on. That's half my life is debating on Canes Insight. My wife yells at me because she knows if I'm in one of these Canes Insight debates, the day is done. I'm going to be at the beach just checking my phone to argue about, 5-star quarterback stats from 2003. So you can get locked in. That's why there's 7 million posts. People can get stuck, but it's a lot of fun. There you see this guy, receiver, physical finish right here. Clearly trying to get the ball in his hands a lot of different ways. Probably the best athlete on the team. That's why you're doing it. Look at this move. Yeah, this plays at linebacker. Oh, look at the lateral. Look at the instincts. The Ed Reed. See, these are the kind of things that you say, how does that translate to linebacker? That's just football instincts. Look at this ability to locate the football. Obviously, in covers, that ability helps. You see that. Look at the finish here, dragging guys. These are all little things you could put together a linebacker. The movement skills, the ball awareness right there, the want to drag guys after the catch, the instincts to know where people are for the lateral. I like how this guy finds the football, man. That's not easy for a linebacker. A lot of times you see linebackers. How many times you see linebackers in coverage on wheel routes? They don't turn around. They can't find the football. Wow. And this guy might need to play offense. But you can see clearly the athleticism here with Braxton Lindsey, why Miami's interested in him and why they're bringing him in on an unofficial visit this weekend. This is an exciting player. So that's a name to watch at linebacker. Defensive back, Camden Portis committed at nickel. And you're talking about Jalen Waters on the outside, just absolutely outstanding player. John Tavius Wyman, very, very quick. So you got a lot of different body types at the defensive backfield. We talked about Devin Jackson last show. Crash Light, man, you are a legend. You're one of the reasons why we can do this thing. Appreciate you. Appreciate everything you do for the show. Thank you, and thank you everyone in the chat. Hope you do have a blessed Easter with your family. Crash Light. Let me know if you ever see me at one of these games. Holler at me. I want to thank you for everything you've done for the show, supporting what we're doing here. You are the man. And again, everybody in the chat, we appreciate everybody who's able to just participate and add to this Crash Light. You're right on top of the list, man. You're the man. Appreciate you. So let's see. Bagging up saying, you're describing our linebackers and cornerbacks for years, never play the ball in the air. Yeah, it's a problem. That's why I think when you have a guy like this, potentially a Braxton Lindsey, who can do it at linebacker, you're talking about a John Tavius Wyman, who's an offensive player, and he's a defensive player and a returner. He's just more of an athlete. We're trying to get more of those kind of guys. Got to get some more of those guys at safety. I think that's something we need to improve on. You saw improvement on it during the season with guys like O.J. Frederic. I think he's someone that can play the ball in the air. Xavier Lucas is more of a size speed guy, but he's gotten better at playing the ball in the air. Ethan O'Connor, classic zone, likes to be eyes on the quarterback, make plays on the ball. So we got to find some of those guys. Will Ventura, Greg says officially in the portal. Yeah, I've been doing some digging on him. That's a sensitive situation because Will Harris left Miami. So Florida, they're going to be – Florida's a school that's known for crying. So they're going to cry about Will Harris and what's he doing with the guys already on the roster. So we'll see how that plays out. I don't know, but he's got some size. So I think he can help us. But again, man, appreciate everybody in the chat. Crash Light, you're the man. I got to get you a drink next Canes game when we're toasting a national championship. Hassan, I'm hearing Patterson is visiting Florida. I heard that too. Look, I think Florida and FSU are in desperation mode, and they're just trying to stockpile talent. Reminds me of Manny Diaz kind of in his last days. I think Miami's got to focus on building a team, using money the right way, and getting guys that you can rely on, and they're going to be where they need to be. I think Patterson could be a great player down the road. Maybe they take a flyer on him. But if I'm taking a flyer, I want to take a flyer on David Stone, right? Who the only reason he didn't play was because he just was developing, nothing crazy, and he's a defensive tackle. And if it hits, you're talking about first round hit. Whereas a safety, I want someone a little more polished if I'm spending money and bringing someone in. Bagging up saying Florida's spending so much money. Yes, I mean, at some positions. But if you look at Florida's portal, they were the worst portal team, I think, in the state. It's fair to say. I mean, who did Florida bring in the portal this past season? Really nobody. And they have really not done anything in the portal this go around. So I wouldn't be too nervous about Florida. I'll be nervous about Florida when they start getting some big-time players in the portal. That's what's missing from Florida right now. They're getting guys out of high school, right, that maybe will help them down the road. But Napier's not going to be around to coach these guys based on what the trend is, what the Vegas expected win total is, and what they brought in the portal, because they lost more than they brought in. They lost Searcy to Texas A&M. They lost Pyburn to LSU. They lost another dude to Alabama. Who they lose to Alabama? One of their big defensive ends went to Alabama. So you lose guys. If you lose edges to teams that are better than you, that's a problem. And then they haven't brought anybody in. They lost Jakeem Jackson to LSU, one of their starting corners. So yeah, they're not losing anybody, or they're not adding anybody. Backing up, I think U.S. wide receiver core will be fired, though. Sad but true. I mean, maybe down the road, but again, if the coach gets fired, those guys are going to the portal probably. At least some of them. I'd be more worried if they brought in a Pena, guys like that. I think they'll be fine at receiver this year, but they're not bringing in guys that are going to help them win against Miami. And considering that Miami beat them 41-17 last time we played, they should be trying to focus on beating teams that beat the brakes off them last time. And I'm not sure their money allocation is in that direction. So I got to turn off my notifications. Twitter portal is going crazy right now. No. Arkansas State defensive lineman Ian Jeffries has committed to Purdue. So nothing too exciting there. We'll get the David Stone update later. Pinellas asking if Mario will be at the draft with Cam Ward. I think so. Mario's going to get all the exposure he can from the number 1 overall pick, plus all the other picks. And I already had the post ready. I know Mario's going to talk about it. When Mario got here, meaning he signs, he's here, and then the draft happens with guys that he never coached. 1 pick, 7th round, John Ford, 2022. We had 1 pick in the 7th round, John Ford. Fast forward, talking about 9 to 11 picks, including the 1st overall. So I think that's going to be certainly a selling point for Mario after this draft. You can believe that. All right, let's get your questions in. When I got a couple more here, but before I get to those questions, or while you're putting them in the chat, I want to talk about the Miami Hurricane team store, MiamiHTS.com. There you go. You got the Centennial. 100 years for the Canes, 30% off headwear. Any item, 20% off your first item with promo code INSIGHT20. That is promo code INSIGHT20. You can use it online at MiamiHTS.com. You can use it at the store at the Thesis Hotel. If you go to Bark in the Park here at the light, go to the baseball game, see this surging baseball team. You go across the street, INSIGHT20 for 20% off. Shout out to Jeremy. Shout out to Harry. You got all the Centennial items there. Baseball jerseys, basketball, my favorite, the Ed Reed throwbacks. Sean Taylor's throwbacks. I was watching Sean Taylor highlights with my kid yesterday. You can't get enough. All right. All right, my voice is gone. This preface with the Canes taking a lot out of me, but I know we got some last questions. What do we got here? I want to know asking blocking from transferring. Well, the SEC's got some block rules. So, that's certainly something to watch with like a guy like David Stone, right? Because David Stone cannot transfer to the SEC. So even more reason why Miami makes a lot of sense there. Canes Cat asking, how can JD turn the perception with the fan base, make a regional, make a run, keep the momentum? So far, so good. Bagging up saying, D must be the ultimate multitasker. Have your phone blowing up all day, every day, raise kids, work your 9 to 5 as a lawyer, and still make time to manage Canes Insight. Some say multitask. My wife would say ADD, but still find time to watch, professional wrestling and get ready for WrestleMania this weekend. So can't be too busy. I need a spoonful of honey. You're right, 904 Kane. But listen, we leave it all in the field. That's what we got to do out here. We got to empty the tank. It's Saturday morning. We got 1600 on again. If you guys are new to the channel, like and subscribe. This is our Saturday show, more casual, just trying to answer some questions, but we're on every single day in studio, all over the place, trying to give you the absolute latest on the Hurricane. Football, basketball, baseball, before it happens, recruiting every single day. That never stops, transfer portal. So again, appreciate everybody tuning into this show. Remember to like and subscribe. Go Canes.